Jake Martinez wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the broken mining drill in front of him. The machine had stopped working 3 hours ago, and the crew needed it fixed by morning. He sighed and picked up his wrench. Another long night. In the workshop waited for him. The mining station on Kepler 442b was not a fancy place. It had metal walls, basic lights, and the smell of oil everywhere. Jake had been working here for 2 years, fixing machines and keeping everything running. He liked the quiet work and the simple life on this distant planet. A loud crash outside made him drop his wrench. The sound was like thunder, but the sky was clear tonight. Jake walked to the window and looked out into the darkness. Red flames glowed in the distance, near the old crater where they dumped broken equipment. Something had crashed out there. Jake grabbed his flashlight and tool bag. He should tell Lisa Brooks, the station commander, but she was sleeping. The crash site was only a 10-minute walk. He could check it out and come back quickly. The night air was cold against his face as he walked across the rocky ground. Red glow grew brighter with each step. When he reached the crater, Jake stopped and stared. A huge metal ship lay broken among the rocks. It was not like any human ship he had ever seen. The metal was dark blue and covered with strange symbols that seemed to shine in his flashlight beam. Steam rose from the wreckage. Something moved inside. Jake should have run back to the station. He should have called for help, but curiosity won over fear. He walked closer to the broken ship and peered through a hole in the side. 2 yellow eyes stared back at him. Jake jumped backward and nearly fell. His heart pounded as a massive creature crawled out of the wreckage. It was 12 feet tall, with scales that looked like blue crystal. Its body was like a dragon from old Earth stories, but it walked on 2 legs like a man. Wings hung broken from its back. Burns covered its face, where eyes should be. The creature was blind. It made a sound like a growl, mixed with a whimper. Jake could see pain in the way it moved. The dragon thing held its head in its clawed hands and stumbled against the rocks. Dark liquid dripped from the burned areas around its eyes. Jake knew he should run. This was an alien creature, possibly dangerous. But as he watched it struggle, he saw something familiar. He had seen that same lost, helpless movement in injured animals back on Earth. This creature was not a monster. It was hurt and scared. The alien sensed his presence and turned toward him. It made a deep rumbling sound and raised its claws. Jake held up his hands slowly, the way he would approach a frightened dog. "Easy there, big guy," Jake said in a calm voice. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature tilted its head.
It could
not understand the words, but something in Jake's tone seemed to reach it. The threatening pose relaxed slightly. Jake pointed to himself. "Jake," he said clearly. Then he pointed to the creature and raised his eyebrows in question. The alien made a complex sound with clicks and rumbles. Jake tried to repeat it but failed completely. The creature made the sound again, slower this time. It sounded like Vex to Jake's ears. "Vex," Jake repeated. The dragon nodded, which surprised Jake. Maybe their species had some things in common with humans after all. Dex touched the burned areas around his eyes and made a sad sound. He tried to walk but stumbled over the rocks he could not see. Jake moved closer, still keeping his hands visible. When Dex did not react with fear, Jake gently took his arm and guided him away from the sharp metal pieces. For the next hour, Jake used simple gestures and basic words to communicate. With Vex, the alien was smart and learned quickly. Through pointing, drawing in the dirt, and acting out movements, Jake learned that Dex had been in a fight. Bad aliens with ships had attacked his people. Dex had helped others escape, but his ship was damaged in the battle. The weapons that hit his ship had burned his eyes and left him blind. Jake felt sorry for this brave creature, who had sacrificed his sight to save others. He looked at the burns around Dex's eyes and wondered if anything could be done to help him. Dex seemed to sense Jake's thoughts. He touched his ruined eyes and shook his head sadly. Through gestures, he showed that his people had tried to heal him, but nothing worked. He was blind forever, but Jake was not ready to give up. He was a mechanic, a problem solver. He had fixed thousands of broken machines. Maybe, just maybe, he could fix this too. Jake pointed to himself, then to Dex's eyes, then made a gesture. Like putting something on his face? Dex looked confused. Jake tried again, this time pretending to work with tools, and then pointing to Dex's eyes with hope. Understanding slowly appeared on Dex's face. This small human wanted to try to heal him. It seemed impossible, but Dex had learned that humans were full of surprises. He nodded slowly. Jake smiled and helped Dex to his feet. The walk back to the mining station would be slow, but Jake was patient. He had found more than a crashed ship tonight. And Jake Martinez had never walked away from a challenge in his life. The red glow from the wreckage faded behind them as they walked toward the station. Lights. Neither of them knew that this meeting would change both their lives forever, and maybe the fate of the galaxy too. Jake led Dex slowly through the mining station halls. The big dragon had to duck under doorways and turn sideways to fit through some passages. Other workers stared with wide eyes, but Jake waved them away. He brought Dex to the large storage room next to his workshop and cleared out space for him to rest. Dex lay down on the metal floor with a tired sigh. Jake brought blankets and pillows from his own room. The dragon looked surprised by this kindness from a stranger. Jake also brought water and tried different foods until he found that could eat the protein bars from their emergency supplies. For 3 days, Jake studied Dex carefully. He watched how the dragon moved his head when trying to sense things around him. Jake noticed that Dex's burned eye areas still had small bumps and lines under the damaged skin. Something was still there, just hurt very badly. Jake borrowed medical books from the station's computer and read everything about eyes and sight, but Dex was not human. His body worked differently. Jake needed to understand how Dex's people could see. On the 4th day, Jake got his answer. He was cleaning Nex's wounds when he noticed something strange. Tiny blue lights flickered under the dragon's scales near his neck and shoulders. When Jake touched these spots gently, Dex turned his head toward Jake's hand. "You can sense the lights," Jake said with excitement. Dex nodded. Through their simple sign language, he explained that his people did not see like humans. They had special cells that could detect light and energy. The light traveled through pathways under their skin to their brain. The weapon that burned his eyes had also damaged these pathways. Jake's mind raced with ideas. If Dex's people used light pathways instead of regular eyes, maybe Jake could build something to help those pathways work again. He was not a doctor, but he was very good at making machines work. Jake spent the next week in his workshop, taking apart old equipment. He pulled circuits from broken computers, sensors from mining tools, and power cells from damaged vehicles. Lisa Brooks, the station commander, asked what he was doing. Jake just said he was working on a special project. The first device Jake built looked like diving goggles with wires hanging out. He connected it to a small computer and tried to make it produce the same kind of light that Dex's body used. But when Dex wore it, nothing happened. Jake did not give up. He tried 17 different designs over 2 weeks. Some were too heavy. Some produced the wrong kind of light. Some worked for a few minutes and then broke. Dex was patient and tried each one without complaining. The breakthrough came when Jake remembered something from his childhood. His grandmother had a music box that used crystals to make different sounds. Jake looked at Dex's crystalline scales and had a new idea. He took apart an old mining scanner that used sound waves to find metals underground. Jake changed it to produce light waves instead of sound waves. Then he added pieces of crystal that he carefully removed from Dex's shed scales. The dragon had given permission for this, understanding that Jake needed to match the crystal's natural frequency. Jake worked for 3 days straight without sleeping. He drank coffee and ate sandwiches while connecting wires and programming the small computer. The new goggles looked like a metal headband with crystal lenses. Thin wires ran from the headband to a small box that Dex could wear on his belt. "This might work," Jake said as he made final adjustments. "The crystals should create the right kind of light. The computer will control the frequency to match your body's natural rhythm." Dex sat very still as Jake placed the device on his head. The metal was cool against his scales. Jake connected the power source and held his breath. "Ready?" Jake asked. Thex nodded. Jake pressed the power button. The crystals began to glow with soft blue light. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Nex made a sound like a gasp. "Light," Nex whispered in his deep voice. "I see light." Jake's heart jumped. With joy, but he stayed calm. "Can you see me?" Thex turned his head toward Jake's voice. "Shadow, moving shadow." Over the next few days, Jake fine-tuned the device. He adjusted the light frequency and power levels. Slowly, Thex's sight improved. First, he could see shapes. Then he could tell the difference between people and objects. After a week, he could see Jake's face clearly. But the device did more than just restore Thex's sight. The combination of Jake's technology and the dragon's natural crystal biology created something new. Thex could now see energy patterns that were invisible to normal eyes. He could see the electrical flow in machines and the heat signatures of living beings. "Your gift has made me better than before," Thex told Jake one evening. "My people's healers could not do what you have done." Jake felt embarrassed by the praise. "I just used parts lying around. Any good mechanic could have done it." Thex shook his head. "No, Jake Martinez. What you have done requires more than skill with tools. It requires a heart that sees suffering and refuses to accept it. This is a rare gift among any people." As they sat together in the workshop, surrounded by tools and spare parts, neither of them knew that Thex's improved vision would soon detect something terrible approaching their peaceful planet. The healing goggles would become more than just a medical device. It would become the key to survival. With his sight restored, Thex began to explore the mining station. Jake walked beside him, watching as his friend discovered the small world that had become his temporary home. Dex was amazed by human technology, not because it was advanced, but because it was so different from what his people built. "Your machines are simple but clever," Thex told Jake as they watched a mining drill work. "My people would use energy fields to cut through rock. You use spinning metal and brute force. Both work, but your way is more ... honest." Jake laughed. "Honest. It's just the only way we know how." That evening, Jake brought dinner to the storage room where Thex stayed. They had started eating together. Every night, sharing stories about their different worlds, Jake learned that Thex was not just any dragon. He was what his people called a guardian, someone chosen to protect others. "How many guardians are there?" Jake asked, opening a can of beans. "Not many," Thex replied, his new goggles glowing softly in the dim light. "Perhaps 1,000 in all our worlds. We are chosen young and trained for many years. Our duty is to stand between danger and those who cannot protect themselves." Jake thought about this. "That sounds lonely." Thex nodded slowly. "It can be. Guardians do not have families like others. We give up personal happiness to serve all people. But it is an honor I chose freely." Jake looked at his friend's serious face. "What were you protecting when you got hurt?" Dex's expression grew sad. "A colony ship full of younglings and their caretakers. The Void Hunters attacked without warning. These are evil beings who consume entire worlds. They take everything and leave nothing behind. 3 Guardian ships held them off while the colony escaped. My ship was damaged, but the families got away safely." "The Void Hunters," Jake repeated. "Are they still out there?" said. "They move from system to system like a plague. They have been our enemy for many centuries. No single world has ever defeated them alone." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Do they know you're here?" "I hope not. My ship's emergency beacon was destroyed in the crash. But they are clever hunters. If they find my trail..." Dex did not finish the sentence. Over the following days, Dex shared more about his people and their advanced civilization. The Draconic Confederacy controlled hundreds of star systems. They had technology that could manipulate energy and matter in ways humans had never imagined. Their ships could travel between stars in days instead of years. "If your people are so advanced," Jake asked, "why couldn't they fix your eyes?" Dex touched the healing goggles gently. "Our medicine is very different from yours. We heal by restoring natural patterns in the body. But the weapon that burned me disrupted those patterns completely. Our healers said the damage was too deep to repair, but you're seeing better than ever now. Because you did not try to restore the old patterns, created entirely new ones. My people would never think to combine technology with living tissue the way you did. We see them as separate things. Jake found this hard to believe, but you're so much smarter than us. Your ships, your energy weapons, ... smart in some ways, Dex agreed. But wisdom is different from intelligence. Your people have something special, Jake. You see problems and refuse to accept that they cannot be solved. Most species, when they reach a barrier, they find ways around it. Humans break through it. Jake felt embarrassed again. We're not that special. We just don't like giving up. That is exactly what makes you special. As the weeks passed, their friendship deepened. Jake taught Dex about human culture, showing him movies on the station's computer and explaining Earth holidays. Dex was fascinated by human music, especially rock and roll. The heavy beats reminded him of traditional dragon war songs. Jake learned about dragon society and their complex honor system. Guardians lived by strict codes of behavior. They could never abandon someone in need. They had to face danger directly, never from behind, and they owed life debts to those who saved them. I owe you such a debt, Dex told Jake one evening. Don't owe me anything, Jake replied. I helped because I wanted to. That makes the debt stronger, not weaker. You gave aid expecting nothing in return. Among my people, this creates the deepest bond possible. Jake did not fully understand the significance of these words, but he could see they were important to Dex. He accepted his friend's gratitude with a simple "et." The other workers at the mining station had grown used to seeing the huge dragon walking through their halls. Lisa Brooks was nervous at first, but Dex proved to be polite and helpful. Used his great strength to move heavy equipment and his enhanced vision to spot problems in machinery that humans might miss. Pete Wilson, the chief engineer, was amazed by his knowledge of energy systems. He understands our reactor better than I do, Pete told Jake, and he's never seen anything like it before. Different doesn't mean worse, Jake replied. Just different. 1 month after the crash, Jake and Dex sat on the station's observation deck looking out at the stars. The healing goggles had become so much a part of Dex that Jake sometimes forgot he had ever been blind. My people will come looking for me eventually, Dex said quietly. Jake felt a stab of sadness. When? Soon, I think. Guardianships carry tracking devices that activate after long periods of silence. They will find this system within days or weeks. That's good, Jake said, trying to sound happy for his friend. You can go home. Dex looked at him with those enhanced eyes that could see so much more than before. Home is not just a place, Jake Martinez. Sometimes it is the people who stand beside you when darkness comes. Neither of them knew that darkness was already approaching, and that their friendship would soon be tested in ways they could never imagine. 3 weeks had passed since Jake successfully healed Dex's vision. The dragon had become part of daily life at the mining station. He helped move heavy equipment, shared meals with the crew, and even learned to play poker with Pete Wilson during their breaks. Everything seemed peaceful and normal. That changed on a Tuesday morning. Jake was fixing a broken conveyor belt when Dex suddenly appeared beside him, moving faster than Jake had ever seen him move. The dragon's enhanced eyes were glowing brighter than usual, and his face showed deep worry. Jake, Dex said urgently, "We need to talk, now." Jake put down his wrench and followed Dex to a quiet corner of the workshop. The dragon looked around, carefully making sure no one else could hear them. "Something is coming," Dex whispered. "Something very bad." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Dex pointed toward the ceiling, indicating the space above the planet. "My enhanced vision can see energy patterns from very far away. Last night, I detected massive power signatures moving toward this system. 4 ships, each one bigger than anything your people have ever built." Jake's blood turned cold. The Void Hunters. "Yes," Dex nodded grimly. "They have found me. They are still several days away, but they are coming directly here. They must have tracked the energy signature from my crashed ship. Jake tried to stay calm, but fear was spreading through his chest. How big are these ships? Each one is 3 kilometers long. They carry thousands of warriors and weapons that can destroy entire cities with single shots. Your mining station. Vex looked around sadly. It would be gone in seconds. Jake ran his hands through his hair, thinking hard. How long do we have? For days, maybe 5. They are moving fast, but trying to stay hidden from any patrol ships that might be in nearby systems. Jake's mind raced through possibilities. The mining station had a small shuttle that could carry maybe 20 people, but there were 43 workers on the station. Even if they could all fit, the shuttle was not fast enough to outrun Void Hunter ships. We need to evacuate, Jake said. Get everyone off the planet. Vex shook his head. The Void Hunters have scanning technology that can track any ship that leaves this system. If you run, they will hunt you down. They will be angry. I escaped them once already. They will not let anyone live who helped me. Jake felt trapped. So what do we do? Just wait here to die? There might be another way, Vex said slowly.
But
it would be very dangerous. Tell me. Vex looked around the workshop, studying the tools and equipment that filled every corner. You fixed something that my people's advanced medicine could. Not repair. You did it with simple parts and clever thinking. Maybe... Maybe you could do something impossible again. You want me to fix our way out of this? The Void Hunters have never been defeated by a single world, Vex explained. But they have also never faced human creativity. Your people see problems differently than anyone else in the galaxy. You might find a solution that no one else would think of. Jake looked around his workshop with new eyes. Broken machines. Spare parts, mining equipment, power tools. Could any of this really stand against starship weapons? It seemed hopeless. What do you know about their ships? Jake asked. They are very strong, but also very predictable, Vex replied. The Void Hunters rely on overwhelming force. They attack the same way every time, because it has always worked. They will come in close to the planet and demand surrender. When that fails, they will begin destroying everything on the surface. How close? Very close. Maybe a few thousand kilometers above us. They like to watch their victims before they destroy them. An idea began forming in Jake's mind. It was crazy and probably impossible, but Vex was right about human nature. Did not like accepting defeat. I need to talk to Lisa and Pete, Jake said. If we're going to try this, I'll need everyone working together. 20 minutes later, Jake sat in Lisa Brooks's office with Dex, Pete Wilson, and the other senior staff members. Jake had explained the situation as simply as possible. The room was very quiet. 4 alien warships? Lisa repeated slowly. Coming? Here in 4 days? Yes, Dex confirmed. Each one capable of destroying this entire facility within minutes? And our options are fight or die? That is correct. Lisa looked around the room at her people. They were miners and engineers, not soldiers. Jake, what exactly are you thinking? Jake took a deep breath. This mining station has some powerful equipment. We have fusion reactors, industrial lasers, heavy machinery, and a lot of metal plating. If we work together, maybe we can turn this place into something the Void Hunters won't expect. You want to turn a mining station into a fortress? Pete asked. Not just a fortress, Jake replied. A trap. X says they always attack the same way. They come in close and try to scare their enemies into giving up. What if we give them a surprise instead? X's eyes glowed brighter with excitement. You want to use their predictability against them. Exactly. They've never fought humans before. Hey, they don't know how we think or what we're capable of. That might be our only advantage. Lisa was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. It's suicide. Maybe, Jake agreed. But running is definitely suicide. At least this way, we have a chance. What do you need? Jake smiled for the first time since Vex had brought the bad news. Everything we've got, and for days to work miracles. Outside the office windows, the peaceful mining operation continued as usual. But soon, every person on the station would be fighting for their lives against enemies they had never imagined. Jake Martinez, the simple mechanic, was about to attempt the most impossible repair job of his career. He was going to try to fix their chances of survival. For 4 days and nights, the mining station became a hive of desperate activity. Jake worked without sleep, turning every piece of equipment into weapons or defenses. The mining lasers were redirected to point at the sky. Heavy metal plates were welded over windows and doorways. The fusion reactor was modified with explosive charges that could be triggered manually. Dex used his enhanced vision to guide the work. He could see energy flows and weak points that human eyes would miss. And together they created traps and weapons that no one had ever imagined before. Pete. Wilson connected all the station's computers into one network that Jake could control from the main workshop. Lisa Brooks organized the crew into teams, making sure everyone knew their job when the attack began. Even the cooks and clerks learned to operate the improvised weapons. On the 4th evening, Dex's enhanced eyes detected the approaching fleet. 4 massive ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. They were black as space itself, covered with weapon ports and sensor arrays. "They are here," Dex announced over the station's communication system. Jake wiped sweat from his face and looked around his workshop. Every surface was covered with control panels, switches, and monitors. Cables ran everywhere like electronic spiderwebs. It looked like chaos, but Jake knew exactly what each system did. "Are we ready?" Lisa asked over the radio. Jake looked at Dex, who nodded firmly. "As ready as we'll ever be." The Void Hunter ships moved slowly toward the planet, taking their time. They had done this many times before. One small mining station could not threaten them, or so they thought. When the ships reached high orbit, a deep voice spoke over all radio frequencies. "Humans of this world, you have harbored our enemy. Surrender the dragon called Dex, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and you will suffer greatly before you die." Jake picked up the radio microphone. His voice was calm and steady. "Right. Is Jake Martinez. Dex is under our protection. If you want him, come and take him." Horrible laughter echoed from the alien ships. "Foolish creatures. You know nothing of power." The first Void Hunter ship moved closer to the station, just as Dex had predicted. It came within 2,000 kilometers, close enough to use its smaller weapons for precise destruction. The aliens wanted to destroy the station piece by piece, making the humans watch their doom approach slowly. "Now," Jake whispered. He pressed the first button on his control panel. Every mining laser on the station fired at once, their beams focused on a single point on the Void Hunter ship's hull. The aliens had not expected such coordinated fire from mining equipment. Alarms screamed on their ship as the combined laser power burned through their shields. But Jake was just getting started. The second button activated the magnetic field generators that were normally used to separate metals from ore. Jake and Nex had repositioned them to create a powerful electromagnetic pulse. The energy wave hit the damaged Void Hunter ship and caused its systems to malfunction. The third button was Jake's masterpiece. It connected the station's gravity generators to create artificial gravity wells around the alien ships. Suddenly, the Void Hunters found their ships being pulled in directions they had not planned for. "Impossible," the alien voice shouted over the radio. "How are you doing this?" Jake smiled grimly and pressed the 4th button. This one activated Dex's contribution to their defense. The dragon had modified several mining charges with his own bioenergy. When they exploded, they released the same frequency of light that had originally damaged his eyes. But now, thanks to Jake's healing goggles, Bex could control and direct this energy. Beams of blue light shot from hidden positions around the station. They struck the Void Hunter ships with devastating effect. The aliens screamed as their own weapon type was turned against them. The second Void Hunter ship tried to retreat, but Jake had planned for this too. He activated the station's industrial tractor beams, normally used to move asteroids. The ship found itself trapped, unable to escape the combined pull of multiple gravity sources. Dex stood beside Jake in the workshop, his enhanced eyes tracking every movement of the enemy fleet. "The third ship is charging its main weapon," he reported. "If it fires, it will destroy the entire station." Jake nodded and reached for the final button. This was the most dangerous part of his plan. Everyone get to the reinforced bunkers. Now, when the evacuation alarm stopped, Jake looked at Dex. Ready for the big finish? Ready, my friend? Jake pressed the last button and grabbed Dex's arm. Together, they ran toward the emergency bunker as fast as they could. Behind them, station's fusion reactor began to overload in a carefully controlled sequence that Jake had designed. The explosion was magnificent and terrible. The reactor released all its energy at once, creating a miniature sun above the planet's surface. The blast vaporized the two closest Void Hunter ships instantly. The shockwave damaged the third ship so badly that it began spinning out of control. Only the fourth ship escaped, limping away into hyperspace to report this impossible defeat to its commanders. In the underground bunker, Jake and Nex felt the ground shake as debris rained down from space. When the tremors stopped, they climbed back to the surface. The mining station was gone, destroyed by Jake's own plan. But they were alive, and the Void Hunters had been defeated. "You did it," Dex said with amazement. "You actually did it." Jake looked at the smoking crater where his workshop had been. "We did it. All of us together." In the days that followed, rescue ships arrived to help the survivors. Word of the victory spread quickly through the galaxy. Humans had achieved the impossible. They had defeated the Void Hunters with mining equipment and determination. Dex's. People came to take him home, but he spent many hours talking with human leaders about an alliance. The dragon had learned something important about his new friends. Humans did not just solve problems. They refused to accept that some problems could not be solved. Jake Martinez returned to Earth as a hero, but he soon went back to fixing machines. That was what he loved to do. But now he worked with alien technology, sharing human creativity with species across the galaxy. The healing goggles he had built for one. Blind Dragon became the foundation for a new kind of medicine that helped millions of beings. But more importantly, they had created a friendship that would reshape the future of two civilizations. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from the strongest weapons, but from the simplest acts of kindness.